Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Inna Allaha ya'muru. Indeed, Allah orders. What? Bil-adli, the justice. Wal-ihsan, and also good conduct. And He also orders what? وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, and giving to relatives. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us 3 things. Adl, ihsan, ita'i dhil qurba. وَيَنْهَى, and He forbids, عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ, from indecency, immorality, وَالْمُنْكَرِ, and bad conduct, وَالْبَغِي, and oppression. 3 things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids us from. Fahsha, munkar, and baghi. يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. He admonishes you that perhaps you will be reminded. Ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu said that this ayah is the most comprehensive ayah in the Quran in terms of what is good and what is evil. Everything that is important, that must be followed, is mentioned in this ayah. And everything that must be stayed away from is also mentioned in this ayah. So we see that there are 3 commands and there are 3 prohibitions. We learned that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the Khalifa, he included this verse in the Friday sermon. It was after him that this tradition continued, and it has continued till today, that this ayah is recited regularly in the Friday sermon in the Jumu'ah khutbah. Why? Because this ayah is a very comprehensive ayah. It's a very good reminder about what is required of us and what we must stay away from. We also learned that many people, they accepted Islam just because they heard this one ayah. When they learned about this one ayah, they believed. Because they knew that whatever this religion is, it is calling to something that is good. Inna Allaha ya'muru. Allah Himself commands that every person must do this. What should every person do? First of all, bil-adli, with the justice. What is adl? Adl is justice, fairness. And the Arabs, they understood adl as insaf. And what is insaf? As I mentioned to you, fairness, justice. And the greatest fairness or justice is what? Acknowledging the blessing, the favor of the one who has bestowed a favor upon you. This is what fairness is. That you acknowledge the favor of the other, the kindness of the other. And if you don't acknowledge that, if you pretend that it does not exist, that is not justice. That is injustice. So adl is fairness. Secondly, adl is also to give every rightful person what he deserves. Every person, whatever right they deserve, adl is to give them what they deserve. And remember that adl does not mean that you give equally to every single person. Adl is what? That you give to every person what they deserve. It's not equality. Okay? Adl is not equality. What is it? It's fairness. It is to give every person what they deserve. Like for example, if you have a child and you have an older person, and if some food is being distributed, you will give a bigger plate to the older person and you will give a smaller plate to who? To the child. You will not say, no, 2 people, exact same sizes, this is not fair. No, it's fair. This is what fairness is. You give to each person what they deserve. If you give more to the child, he will not be able to consume it. If you give less to the older person, that will be insufficient for him. So adl is to give every person the right that they deserve. Similarly, adl is also to maintain a balance. I'tidal, to have a balance. And i'tidal, balance can only be obtained when every person is given what they deserve. Because if you give to only one and you ignore the other, is that going to maintain balance? No. It's going to create imbalance in your life. So Allah orders justice, meaning Allah orders the doing of justice to everyone. What is adl with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Justice with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah's haqq should be given to Him. And what is that? That He is the only God. He should be worshipped alone. that he should be thanked for the blessings that he has bestowed, that he should be obeyed in return for all of his favors. This is what is adl with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he should be believed in, that he should be obeyed, and he should be worshipped exclusively and sincerely. What is adl towards the creation? That their huquq, their dues, their rights must be given to them. Whatever every person deserves, he should be given that. And also, that if there are any decisions, any judgments to be made, that should be made with justice. Not bias, but justice, equity. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli. Allah orders justice. It's a command. It's not a request. It's a command. It's an obligation on all of us that we should strive to be just. Wal ihsan. And he also orders the good conduct. What is ihsan? Ihsan is from husn, which is beauty. And ihsan is to do good, to do righteous deeds, to do everything at the level of excellence. To do everything at the level of excellence, to beautify your actions. How do you beautify your actions? By doing them in a very nice way, by doing them in a very good way. Like for example, one is that the homework that was given, the assignment that was given, a person does it just to get rid of it, just to get over it. And he misses some questions, he leaves some out, he leaves some blank. Or he just copies off somebody else's assignment. This is not ihsan at all. What is ihsan? That you do it how it should be done. That you answer every single question. You write neatly, you write properly, so that the person who is going to be marking the assignment is not wondering what that word is. Similarly, the sentences are complete, the references are there. There's clarity, so that the other person is not solving the answers that you provided. So ihsan is to do something at the level of excellence, to beautify an action. And ihsan is also tafaddul, to give more, to give extra, which includes pardon, forgiveness. So Allah orders ihsan. So what does ihsan mean in the context then? That first of all, ada'ul fara'id, to perform the obligations. This is ihsan, to perform the obligations. Because if a person leaves out any, that would be injustice. And it includes all the deeds that have been enjoined by the Quran and Sunnah. Similarly, ihsan includes ikhlas, sincerity. Because sincerity is what beautifies the actions. And remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that you worship Allah as though you see Him. This is what ihsan is. Ikhlas. And ihsan also includes al-afu, forgiveness, pardon. That you forgive the other. If they're rude to you, if they're harsh to you, you do ihsan, you forgive them. You be kind in your words, you be kind in your actions. This is what Allah commands. That you should focus on doing extra. You should focus on doing more than what the other has done. Do more good in return. You see, adl is justice. Ihsan is a level above that. Be extra nice. Be extra generous. Be extra kind and compassionate. Allah orders both of these things. Because sometimes we only focus on, okay, what's my duty? Okay, what's required of me? And I will only do that. Nothing beyond that. But ihsan is what? That you do extra as well. That for example, your duty would be that for any person who's working at a particular place, that he has to come at 9, he has to leave at 5. There are certain things that he has to do, he just does them. Now, justice would be that he just comes and he does his work. He comes at 9, he does his work and he leaves at 5. This is what? Justice. But ihsan is what? That he does the work properly. And if there's anything left over, he stays longer to complete the work. He takes it home to do the work. He takes it home to complete it. And he doesn't just do it to get rid of it so that he can get his paycheck. He does it with ihsan to bring quality to his work, to bring benefit to the work that he's doing, to bring benefit to the company that he's working for. This is what ihsan is. So in every action, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires, He wants ihsan from us. And thirdly, He commands وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, and giving to who? To the close relatives. Whether they give you or they don't give you. You are supposed to give them. Generally, we give to who? Those who give us. Where we are receiving, we like to be on the giving end as well. And where we are not receiving, we don't want to give. But what does Allah say? Ita'i dhil qurba, not taking from the dhil qurba. He has commanded you to give to the dhil qurba. And what is it that we have to give them? Giving what to them? What are we required to give them? Anything. Like what? Money. What else? Gifts. What else? Help. Assistance. Their rights. Very good. What else? Time. Okay. Knowledge. Good behavior. Kindness. Charity when they need it. What else? Good words. Good advice. All of this is what? Giving to their relatives. So وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, and also giving to the near relatives. And remember, ذِي الْقُرْبَى, the closest relatives to you. And relatives have been mentioned in particular. Why? Because this highlights their importance. It doesn't mean that other people should be ignored. No, they should also be given. But when the relatives are mentioned, what does it show? That they deserve most from us. Because charity begins where? At home. وَيَنْهَى, and 3 things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids. Along with doing certain good deeds, we are also required to avoid certain evil deeds. Why? Because if we only focus on doing good and not avoiding evil, then some evil is enough to corrupt the good that you're doing. Like for example, you have a table that is full of lovely dishes that you've prepared. And right in the center, you put a garbage bag. What is that going to do? It's going to destroy the entire table. Although you have placed 5 lovely dishes and only 1 little garbage can, that's enough to ruin everything good. So along with doing good, you have to abstain from evil as well. Because some evil is sometimes enough to consume all the good that you've done. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids from what? عَنِ الْفَحْشَاء, from the indecency. What is fahsha? Fahashin, that which is indecent, that which is immoral, that which is vulgar, obscene. And it is said that fahsha refers to all such crimes whose cause is desire. All such crimes whose cause is what? Desire. So for example, this includes zina. This includes homosexuality. This includes vulgar speech, obscene actions, dirty jokes, being flirtatious. This is what? Fahsha. Writing bad words, obscene words, saying them, behaving improperly, dressing improperly, acting improperly. This is all fahsha. And what's the root cause of it? Desire. And he also forbids al-munkar. What is munkar? That action which is rejected, which is disapproved by the sharia and by the aql. And what's the cause of this? It is said that the cause of munkar is ghayz and ghadab, anger. Like for example, munkar includes yelling at your parents. Is that acceptable by the aql? No. Is it acceptable by the religion? Not at all. And why does a person yell at his own parents? Out of anger, out of ghadab, out of ghayz. Ghayz and ghadab. So wal-munkar. Munkar is also forbidden. Wal-baghi, and the oppression. What is oppression? What is baghi? Baghi is to exceed the bounds, to oppress someone, to just get what you desire, to get what you want. And the cause for baghi is kibr, arrogance. So Allah has forbidden fahsha, munkar, and baghi. If you look at it, if you contrast these 3 with the 3 commands that have been mentioned, firstly what was mentioned? Al-adl. So adl and fahsha, complete opposites. How? That adl is that you give everyone what they deserve. And fahsha is indecency, that you become biased. Similarly, the second command is ihsan. And what has been mentioned contrary to that? Al-munkar. Where ihsan is good conduct, munkar is bad conduct. Where ita'i dhil qurba is being generous, baghi is being oppressive. Opposites. يَعِظُكُمْ, he admonishes you, he advises you, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, so that you take heed. Hasan al-Basri said that adl and ihsan, they don't leave out anything from the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning every act of obedience is included in what? In adl and ihsan. And fahsha and munkar and baghi, what do they include? Every act of ma'asiyah, every act of disobedience. So we see that in our religion, certain morals, certain good deeds, they must be adopted, they must be lived by, and at the same time, certain vices, they must be abandoned, they must be avoided. Both should be our focus. Doing good and at the same time avoiding evil. Because if you think of it, throughout your life you are faced by these opportunities. Either you can do good or you can do bad. Now if you avail all the good opportunities and all the bad opportunities, that's not good enough. What is required? That you do good and you avoid evil as well. Because ultimately, no matter how kind, no matter how just, no matter how fair, no matter how nice a person is, if he has bad character, if he is unjust just to his wife or towards just his children, that is enough to wipe off all of his good deeds. And we see this, that sometimes people, they're known for their outward righteousness, for their outward generosity, but then one crime is discovered which ruins their entire personality, which ruins their entire image. Like for example, a person may be known for being a very honest person, for being very hardworking and dedicated person, and all of a sudden you find out about a scandal, that this person is cheating on his wife. That person loses respect completely. I'm sure you've heard of so many people who are very good at the work that they do, very hardworking, very dedicated, little children are their fans, and all of a sudden, what is discovered? A scandal. And their whole image goes down the drain. This is why, along with adl, ihsan, ita'i dhil qurba, fahsha must be stayed away from. Fahsha outside of marriage affairs. This is what? Fahsha, indecency, zina. They must be avoided. They must be stayed away from. Both are important. And if you notice, fahsha, munkar, and then baghi are mentioned. And there's a reason behind this order. Because many times fahsha, indecency, for example, a person is flirtatious, that leads to what? Munkar, doing something that is completely wrong, that is not acceptable at all. And then that leads to baghi, that leads to oppression, that leads to depriving other people from their rights, being unjust towards them. The Prophet ﷺ warned us. He said, there is no sin more deserving of having its punishment hastened in this dunya, as well as what is reserved in the hereafter for the one who does it, more than tyrannical aggression and cutting the ties of kinship. Baghi as well as severing the ties of kinship. These two crimes, they bring the punishment in the dunya to a person. The punishment is not just reserved in the hereafter, but it is given to a person even in the dunya. How? That the blessings that a person has, they are taken away from him. So we see that both sides must be focused on doing good and staying away from evil. And if, for example, a person is very good towards his co-workers, he's very good towards the people that he sees outside, in the street, at the mall, he smiles at them, but when he comes home, he yells at his wife, he oppresses his children. This is what? Doing zulm. This is baghi. This is oppression. This is injustice. And when a person does that, then blessings are taken away from him. Because the Prophet ﷺ warned us that injustice and cutting the ties of relation, what do? They bring the punishment to a person in the dunya. So when a person does baghi on others, he's living a double life, very nice towards some, and in his own house, extremely rude and offensive and harsh and violent, then that is going to deprive him of blessings. Because it's ingratitude for the blessings that Allah has given to him. And remember, when a person is ungrateful, then blessings are taken away from him. We learn in Surah Yunus, ayah number 23, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, innama baghyukum ala anfusikum. O people, your injustice is against yourselves. It's against yourselves. Therefore, a person must try his best to avoid baghi, to avoid injustice. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ, and fulfill the covenant of Allah. Meaning, and Allah has also commanded you to do this. That you must fulfill the covenant of Allah. إِذَا عَاهَدْتُمْ, when you have made a promise. What does it mean by this? Meaning, when you take oaths, when you make promises in the name of Allah, by using His name, what should you do then? Fulfill those promises. If you make a promise saying, by Allah, I will do this, then what does it mean? You should do it. وَلَا تَنْقُضُوا, and do not break. الْأَيْمَانَ, the oaths. تَنْقُضُوا from the root letters Nun, Qaf, Dad, and Naqd is to untie a knot after tying it. And from this, it is used for breaking a promise. Similarly, the word naqd is also used for untying or untwisting a rope or breaking a necklace. So, وَلَا تَنْقُضُوا الْأَيْمَانِ, and al-ayman is a plural of yameen, oath. Do not break the oaths, do not break the covenants, ba'da, after, tawkidiha, its confirmation. Tawkid from the root letters, waw, kaf, dal. And wikad is basically a rope with which a cow is tied when it's being milked. Wikad is a rope with which a cow is tied when it's being milked. Because if you don't tie it, it's going to go away. So from this, tawqeed is to make something firm, to make something strong, to emphasize, to affirm, to confirm something. So after you have confirmed your oaths, do not break them. How does a person confirm his oaths? By using the name of Allah. Like for example, a person says, I swear, he's making an oath, I swear that I will do this and I will do that. But then he says, I swear by Allah. So when he uses the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he makes Allah a witness, he is making that promise, that oath, firm. He's confirming it. This is why people swear oaths, to show that they are definitely going to fulfill it. وَقَدْ جَعَلْتُمْ, while in fact you had made Allah, alaykum, upon you, kafilan, a witness. Kafil is from the root letters, kaf, lam. And kafil is basically a person who guarantees, a person who assures the other. How? Like for example, if two people are making a contract, two people are making a promise. Now, one person who is taking the loan and the other is giving the loan, the person who is taking the loan, he needs to somehow make the other person believe that he is going to return the money to him. Think about it. If you're borrowing something from another person, you have to make him believe somehow that you're going to return that money to him. Right? You make the contract, you sign the contract, but still you need something. So what do? You bring a third person. And the third person comes and he says, okay, I guarantee that this person is going to give the money to you. And if he doesn't, I will give the money. Even today, for example, if a person is renting a particular place, and if his income is not as sufficient, then he needs someone to become a guarantor for him. To say that he will ensure that this person gives the rent, and if he doesn't, I will take the responsibility of giving the rent so that you don't suffer any loss. So this is who a kafil is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that don't break your ayman when you have confirmed them, and you have made Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a guarantor over those ayman. How did you make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a kafil over those oaths? By swearing by Him, by taking His name, by making Him a witness. Inna Allah ya'lamu ma taf'alun. Indeed, Allah knows whatever you are doing. So we see in this ayah the emphasis of fulfilling promises, fulfilling contracts, especially those in which a person has sworn by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also we see the emphasis on fulfilling promises that are made with Allah. Because awfu bi'ahdillahi. Fulfill the promise that you have made with Allah or in the name of Allah. Now it happens that sometimes a person does something wrong, he feels bad, and he makes a promise, okay, I'll never do it again. And he makes his promise with who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Allah say now? Fulfill it. Fulfill that promise. Even if nobody else knows about it, Allah knows. Allah knows what you're doing. The end of the ayah, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Inna Allah ya'lamu ma taf'alun. And similarly, when a person is making a promise with other people and he's swearing by the name of Allah, he must fulfill. Because he's using the name of Allah. In Surah Al-Fath, ayah number 10, we learn, فَمَنْ نَكَثَ فَإِنَّمَا يَنْكُثُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ أَوْفَى بِمَا عَاهَدَ عَلَيْهِ اللَّهَ فَسَيُؤْتِيهِ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. So he who breaks his word only breaks it to the detriment of himself. A person who goes against his promise, who is he harming? Himself. And he who fulfills that which he has promised Allah, Allah will give him a great reward. Similarly, elsewhere in the Quran as well, we learn, وَبِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ أَوْفُوا ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Fulfill the promises that you have made with Allah. You see, the thing is that while a person is alive, he comes across many people. People are social. And people are dependent on one another. It's not possible that you live your life without making any promise with anyone. No matter how much you try to avoid making promises, somewhere or the other you will come across situations where you have to make a promise. You cannot live your life in isolation. You have to socialize with people. You are dependent on people. So in that case, Allah is giving us an advice that we must fulfill the promise. وَلَا تَكُونُوا, and do not be like the one who, كَالَّتِي, like she who, نَقَضَتْ غَزْلَهَا. Do not be like the woman who untwisted her spun thread. نَقَضَتْ, again, nun qaf dad, to untwist, to unravel. And the word ghazl, ghain, zai, lam, is used for a yarn, a thread that has been spun. When you think of a thread, what do you think of? The thread that is on your clothes. Where do threads come from? Does it grow on trees? No. You have to make thread yourself. How? With fibers. There is a particular machine that you have to use in order to spin the thread. Let me give you an example. This will make it very simple for you. There was a cartoon, a fairy tale in which there's a witch, she spins the thread. Sleeping Beauty, exactly. Remember? You remember now? That woman is going around with the machine and she has wool and she's spinning the thread. That's how you make thread. That you have a lot of wool and you have this machine in which you keep putting the wool and you keep spinning it. And what happens? All those fibers, they get connected together into a yarn, into a thread. Thread does not grow on trees. Okay? So this is what ghazl is. And remember, it takes a lot of time and effort to make this thread. Now you have machines, perhaps with pedals, or perhaps automatic machines in which you don't have to do anything. You just turn the button on and it's working itself. But before, women would sit for hours and hours to make their thread. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that don't be like that woman who untwisted her spun thread, min ba'di quwwatin, after firmness, ankathan, into shreds. Ankath is the plural of naks. And naks is fiber. Basically, it is to break something into small pieces. It's also used for breaking promises. So naks is fibers that are undone and broken. Why? So that they should be spun again into a thread. So just imagine you have a thread and it hasn't been made properly. Or you feel it's not right. So what do? You break it open again. You turn it into fibers again. And you collect those fibers again to make a thread again. It is said that there was a woman in Makkah. She was foolish and she used to spend a lot of time spinning her thread and then she would undo the whole thing again. Because she was mentally unstable, this is what she would do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us an example over here. That once you have made a promise, you've put in so much effort. Think about it, signing contracts is not that easy. For example, marriage is also a contract. You have to have a wedding contract. You have to have the person who is doing the nikah. You have to have the witnesses present. You have to announce the nikah. You have to have the walima. There's so much involved in getting two people married. You've put in so much effort. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Now don't undo that thread that you have spun with so much effort. Don't break the contract that you have consolidated, that you have made after so much effort. Like for example, sometimes people, if they want to have a business with someone, they will research, they will go here, they will go there. Eventually they will decide, okay, this person, I want to do business with them. They make a contract. Now after some time they're like, okay, I've changed my mind. So Allah says, لا تكونوا كالتي نقضت غزلها من بعد قوة أنكاسا. Don't be like such a woman. تتخذون, you all make أيمانكم, your oaths, دخلا بينكم, as an excuse between you all. دخلا is from the root letters dal, kha, lam. And dakhal is that which enters into something and it does not belong to it. It does not belong there. Like for example, you enter into a house which is not your house. You weren't invited over there as a guest. You weren't invited over there to do some work. You just enter into that house. This is what? You're interfering someone's privacy. So dakhal is to interfere. That which enters into something and it does not really belong there. And in particular, it is used for something that enters into another for the purpose of fasad. Why would a person go into somebody's house without permission, without being invited, just to see how the layout is? Would anybody do that? If somebody breaks your window and comes into your house and they're caught, they say, I just wanted to see how you had set up your house. Does that make sense? It doesn't. Anybody who enters like this has not come for a good reason. They have come for the purpose of fasad. So, from this the word dakhal is used for disorder, for deception, for treachery, for trickery. So basically it's fasad. So, are you making your oaths for the purpose of dakhal bainakum, between you? Meaning as a means of cheating one another? As a means of deceiving one another? Sometimes people swear oaths, why? Just so that the other believes him. He doesn't really mean it. He's not honest about it. His heart is not settled on it. He's just swearing that oath, he's just signing that contract. Why? To make the other person believe him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is questioning us. تَتَّخِذُونَ أَيْمَانَكُمْ دَخَلًا بَيْنَكُمْ. Would you make them as a means of deceit amongst you? To deceive one another? To cheat one another? أَن تَكُونَ, that it is ummatun, a community, meaning a group. Here it is arba, more plentiful, min ummatin, than a people. The word arba is from the root letters raba, wow, from the word riba. What does riba mean? Growth, to increase. So arba, af'alu tafdeel, arba is more increased. That which is more in number, that which is more in wealth. So what's the reason behind your breaking your oaths? Is it because one group is more in number than the other? And if you make your contract with them instead, you will get more benefit? Basically, we see that the mushrikeen, the tribes, they would make affiliations with one another. Because in Arabia, you couldn't just survive as a lone tribe. You had to have alliances with one another. So if, for example, one tribe, they made alliances with another tribe, this was a means of strength. Now let's say they made an alliance with one tribe, but they found out that there's another tribe with whom they can make alliances, and because you're more difficult. How difficult is it to say Subhanallah wa bihamdihi? It's not difficult at all. And if you keep the meaning in mind, and if you do it at these times, at these situations, when things are changing, when circumstances are... Similarly today, what happens? A person goes, he signs a contract somewhere, he makes a contract, he says that I will take your services. That is alive from who? From the one who is dead. Al-Hayy. And this is understood. And then what happens? He sees more benefit somewhere else. What does he do? He just breaks it, goes there. Now you have caused harm to the other. You said that you were going to be in business with them for the next 2 years. And after 1 month, you dissolve the contract. You say, forget about it. I don't want to do it anymore. Or you just walk away. You never even say anything to them. Just because you find more benefit over there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, don't do this. Don't do this, because when you do it, you're causing loss to one another. You're causing harm to each other. Innama, indeed not but. يَبْلُوكُمُ اللَّهُ بِهِ. Allah is testing you through this. Allah tests you through this. How? That you make a contract with someone. You make an alliance with someone, and then what happens after some time? You find more benefit somewhere else. This is a test. And you see, this happens so much in this dunya these days. You go buy one plan, and what happens? Another company calls you. They offer you another plan for a better price, forcing you to dissolve the contract that you have made. This is a test. That are you satisfied with whatever that you have taken, whatever that you have settled with? Are you content with it or not? Because if you think about it, the options in this dunya sometimes are unlimited. If you're doing your research, if you're figuring out what phone plan should I take, what package should I take, sometimes the options are unlimited and sometimes they're so confusing. So whatever that you have agreed to, whatever that you have made a contract, whatever you have made a contract, just stick to it. Be content with it. This is a part of gratitude. And if you are not satisfied with it, and you break that contract, you go against the terms and conditions, just because you want more benefit, then you're failing the test. Because remember that إِنَّمَا يَبْلُوكُمُ اللَّهُ بِهِ. Allah tests you through it. وَلَيُبَيِّنَنَّ. And surely He will definitely explain clearly. لَكُمْ for you, يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, on the day of judgment. مَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. What you used to differ in. He will clarify to you on the day of judgment. Now, does this ayah mean that if you have made a promise with someone, if you've made a contract with someone, you're never ever allowed to dissolve that? Like, for example, if a person has made a marriage contract, he is never allowed to divorce? That's not the case. You see, what is being mentioned over here is that once you've made a contract, once you've made a promise, stick to it. Stick to it. Because a lot of effort has been put in. And if you think that it is necessary to break that contract, then do so with justice. Do so with ihsan. Do so openly and properly, without violating the terms and conditions. Because many times when people do finish a contract, when they do dissolve a contract, how do they do it? With injustice. Many times if there are business partners who are working together, who have put all of their investments together, what happens? One person takes all the money. Another person puts everything on his name. Two people, they invested their money in a house. They had made a promise that both of them were going to benefit from its profit. They had a fight. They go against the terms and conditions. One goes and he takes everything for himself. This is what is being forbidden over here. That if you've made a promise, first of all, stick to it. If you feel there's a necessary need in order to dissolve it, then do it properly, without going against the terms and conditions. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ. And if Allah willed, لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. Surely He would have made you into one nation. Meaning there would be no differences amongst you. He would have made you into one people. وَلَكِنْ But يُضِلُّ He causes to stray مَنْ يَشَاءُ Whomever He wills. وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ And He guides whomever He wills. وَلَتُسْأَلُنَّ عَمَّا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ And you will definitely be questioned about what you used to do. If you think about it, this test of what plan should I take, what service should I sign up for, why do you have so many options? Because of all the differences that are there. One is offering one plan, another is offering another plan, another is offering another service. And because of this variety, you are in confusion, what should you go for? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying over here that if He wanted, He could have just given you one option. Everybody would be one people. No differences amongst people. Because remember the context of these ayat, that the Arabs, they would make alliances with one another. You would not even need to make such alliances. There would be no need to make contracts. But He has kept these differences at various levels. Why? To test you. And on the day of judgment, you'll be questioned about what you have done. And while you're alive, there are people who conduct themselves properly, who fulfill their word, and there are others who go against them. وَلَكِنْ يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ And do not make your ayman dakhalan as a means of deceit بَيْنَكُمْ between you. Dakhalan again is what? A means of deceiving one another, tricking one another, causing disorder. So don't swear oaths just to deceive one another. Like many people, they will swear oaths to make the other person believe in them. Once they believe them, they will go and do whatever they want. They will say, by Allah, tomorrow I will deliver this thing to your house. You give me the check today. You give them the check, tomorrow nothing shows up. Day after, nothing shows up. So he used the name of Allah to deceive you. Allah says, وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ دَخَلًا بَيْنَكُمْ. Do not take your oath as a means of deceit between you. Why? Because when you deceive one another like this, by swearing oaths, you lead other people astray. فَتَزِلَّ, lest it will slip. Tazilla from the root letter, zai, lam, lam, zalal. Zalal is to slip, to stumble. What will slip? قَدَمٌ, foot. بَعْدَ ثُبُوتِهَا, after its firmness. Subut is when something becomes firm and stable somewhere. Whose foot is going to slip after it has become firm? The person who has been deceived, the person who has been mistreated. Like for example, if someone tells you, you give me the check today, I will deliver your thing tomorrow to your house, and it never shows up. The money is gone, and you have never received the item that you purchased. What is that going to do? It's going to make you doubtful for the rest of your life. You will never ever be able to trust anyone. It happens with people. You see, sometimes people are so doubtful, so skeptical, they never trust anyone. Why? What do they say? I had a bad experience. So don't do this, because someone will lose their confidence. They're going to be shattered for the rest of their lives. They will not be able to trust anyone. Similarly, we see that, for example, a girl who gets engaged to someone, just engagement. And for no reason, for no genuine reason, the engagement was broken from the other side. What happens? The family cannot trust anyone. The other day, somebody was mentioning to me how their daughter, her engagement was broken just a few days before she was supposed to get married. And now they have become so skeptical, so fearful of everybody, everyone who sends a proposal. They don't know who to trust, who not to trust, because of the way that the other family deceived them. فَتَزِلَّ قَدَمٌ بَعْدَ ثُبُوتِهَا. Secondly, this qadam refers to the person who is inclined to Islam, the person who is inclined to believe, who is at the verge of accepting Islam. Imagine you make a promise with him, a Muslim with a hijab, or a Muslim with a beard, a person with a Muslim name. They make a promise to him, and they don't fulfill it. What are they going to think? I don't want to be like this person who does not fulfill his promises. I don't think this religion is any good. So a person who was so close to accepting Islam, what are you doing? By your deceiving them, you are causing their foot to slip. وَتَذُوقُ السُّوءَ, and you will taste the evil, meaning punishment, in the dunya and in the hereafter. Why? بِمَا صَدَدْتُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, because you stopped people from the way of Allah. وَلَكُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and for you will be a great punishment. We see that people, many times Muslims, when they interact with others, they use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will swear by Allah. And when they break their promises, when they go against them, what happens? The other people don't trust them anymore. We don't like the religion in which people don't even honor the name of their God. He swore by Allah, and he broke his promise. وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا, and do not barter, do not purchase, do not exchange. بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ, the covenant of Allah, ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا, for a small price. If you break a promise that you've made in the name of Allah, what will you get? Some benefit, some worldly benefit. It is ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. Allah forbids us from doing that. Do not exchange the promise of Allah for a small price. Why? Because إِنَّمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. That which is with Allah is much better for you. Meaning the halal is much better. What He gives you in the dunya through halal means that is much better. The reward that Allah has kept for you in the hereafter for your sabr is much better. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, if you only know. Remember, this is a Makki surah. So we see in these ayat, good morals are being mentioned. Because this is what everyone needs to develop in themselves. Honesty, fulfilling promises, fulfilling commitments. Because if a person does not do that, then he is turning people away from the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Let's listen to the recitation of these verses.
أنتم تعلمون.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.